Welcome to education in our community, and Oakland is. Oakland is emphasizes education in many of its shows, and we're privileged tonight to have an educator who wrote a book about her life as a Black Studies educator. Her name is Dr. Cecilia Louise Hatshepsut Arrington. Dr. Arrington, we have your book, and I think you wrote the book in 2002. Could you tell us why you wrote the book?
Yes, Dr. Cannon. First of all, the book was published in 2002, but I had contemplated writing my autobiography for about 20 years before I actually had it published. And I wrote it because, first of all, it was a way to resurrect my mother and father from the grave. My mother especially had sacrificed so much to educate her 4 children. And every year until I wrote this book, I would cry. And then when I wrote this book, I said, now the world will know about Stella Arrington. The world will know about Dread Arrington. And also, Dr. Cannon, so many outstanding educators leave these shores of North America without leaving a legacy for their students. I have taught hundreds of students, and once I'm gone, my students will at least have my autobiography to refer to. It is dedicated to them as well as my mother and father. So I feel so good. Even if I don't get this second or third book published, I feel so good that I have gone on to resurrect my mother and father from the grave.
Well, I noticed that you were going to tell us a little bit about your mother and your father and some of the things that, I think your mother's name was Stella?
Yes, Stella Louise Arrington.
Louise.
Yes.
Part of your name.
Yes.
And
yes.
then tell us about your father as well.
Yeah, my father, Dread Scott Arrington.
After the famous Dred Scott decision?
Yes,
yes.
Yes. My mother was a teacher, believe it or not. She was a principal in a 2-teacher school. And very few people know about those schools in the South. But she taught along with a co-worker, and she taught 3 classes. The teacher who assisted her also taught 3 classes. And she would leave this school at about 3:30 and start her insurance route for Atlanta Life Insurance Company and come home about 6:30, I guess by between 5:30 and 6. But believe it or not, before she started this route, my mother would leave Green Oak School, that was the name of the school, come home and prepare our dinner, and then go on her route about 4:30, come back about 6:30. This lady, I know she was tired, but my mama would also, on the corner of her bed, assist us with our English problems at Jones High School, our math problems, our history concerns. She was just, to me, a phenomenal woman.
And your high school was called Jones High School?
Yes, Jones High School.
Tell us about there and how you stayed there.
Okay. I was able to stay at Jones High because I had that same perseverance that was a part of my enigma, that was a part of my mother's stick-to-itiveness. Because you see, the principal of Jones High School, I refer to him in my book as Mr. Riley, but his name was Mr. Rouser. He did not care for families unless they were a moneyed class. We, the Arrington family, we had perseverance, but we didn't have any money. But I stayed at Jones High School because I studied hard. And I was determined that I was going to let my studying pay off for me. And then my mother was there telling me, Cecilia, you will finish Jones High School. Just do your best in your classes. Do your best in your history class, in your English class, in your physics class. And then one thing about Mr. Rouser also, he favored not only the moneyed classes of people who were in our hometown, but he also favored the students who catered to him. And I wasn't taught to cater to anyone, but I made it at Jones High.
He was the principal?
Yes, he was the principal. I didn't care that much for him because I think he stayed as the principal of Jones High School because he catered to the white power structure downtown. And in a Jim Crow environment, these are the kind of men they love to put in positions. So that's how I stayed there, perseverance. And going on what Stella Arrington and Dred Arrington taught me.
Yes. Did you want to say something about your father?
Yes, my father was a person who was very warm-hearted. My father disciplined his 4 children. Even in terms of going to church, it tickled me a lot. Daddy would not go to church on Sundays, but Mama wanted us to go to church, and therefore he made us get out of the bed on Sundays and get ready for church. My daddy was a butcher. He was a very excellent butcher. Could cut a chicken up in, I think, a minute and a half. And he worked downtown. I knew he was good, and I have this in my book, because he went to work each morning at 3 a.m. And the white man for whom he worked picked him up. And, you know, in a Jim Crow environment, you got to work the best way you could. Mr. Ray came and picked Daddy up.
I wonder why.
And they stopped at a local cafe, got their breakfast, and then went on to work. And then Daddy went on to work.
Did you ever find out or figure out why he picked him up, even though that wasn't typical?
It wasn't typical. I think he picked him up because Dred Arrington was his supreme meat cutter. And people came there to get their meat between 7, 8, and 9 o'clock, and they wanted to be sure their meat was ready. And Dred was their supreme meat cutter.
Now, I see you went to Alabama State College and you taught in Drew, Mississippi.
Yes.
And then you taught at Castlemont High School in Oakland, California. And the Black Panther Party was instrumental in bringing you to Merritt College. And you focused on Black studies. Would you tell us about some of those experiences from the different institutions?
Yeah. In Drew, Mississippi, that was a very precarious existence for me. I taught youngsters who were 3 and 4 years older than me, because at that time I was only 20 years old. This was a sharecropping environment, and it was so sad. 61 was the first year those young people had gone to school 9 months out of the year. It was 6 months for some. And whenever the whites who owned the land where they were supposed to be sharecropping wanted the boys, they came and got them and took them to pick the cotton and took them to chop the cotton. And the black principal couldn't do one thing about it.
And the parents couldn't do anything?
Couldn't do anything because they were living on Mr. Estes' land. They were living in his house. And as you know, sharecropping was slavery all over again for our people. Mm-hmm. And then I came to Castlemont High School. Castlemont High School, my last 3 years there were very outstanding, because after I taught my regular American history classes, I taught Black history after school. And on some occasions, members of the Black Panther Party would come and hear me talk about the glory and the beauty of Africa and Lincoln and what he did and did not do for black people, all that. They liked it. They liked what I was saying. And they went back and they told the president of Merritt, we want Arrington to come to Merritt College and teach Black history.
Was that on Grove Street at that time?
Yes, it was on Grove Street.
Which is now Martin Luther King Jr. Way.
Yes. And it was very interesting. I was so happy about it. And once I signed the contract, I was still happy. But that Monday, when I began to go to Merritt College, I said, oh my Lord, where am I going? I'm going to the school of Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. I must be a fool. I know that I'm not going to be able to teach in that environment where the Black Panther Party is so outstanding. But once I got in that classroom and saw those students around there so willing to learn, wanting to learn. Some came in their house shoes. My first class, there were about 70 students. All of my apprehension just died away. And I said, I am going to teach these students. And I went home every night and prepared. I went to every convention in the summertime. I talked with men like Dr. John Hope Franklin, Dr. Benjamin Quarles, and they helped me construct my syllabi for my classes. The interest was so intense on the part of the students. They wanted to know. They had received a European education all of their lives. They wanted to know Black history, and I wanted to teach them. And every night I went home, I studied more and more to give them this outstanding experience. Because at that time also, if you weren't a good teacher, somebody in the Panther Party would come and get you and put you out of the classroom. And I didn't want that to happen to me.
So your work with the Panthers and your enthusiasm and I'd say the vitality that you had in your teaching, that was maintained for a number of years, wasn't it?
Oh, yes.
How many years did you work at Merritt?
First of all, I worked at Merritt College 33 years.
All right. I think we're having a signal that we almost need to end our segment. How can people get your book?
They can get my book by just phoning me.
Okay. Is there a number?
Yes. They can phone me at 510-562-0540.
Dr. Arrington, we want people to get the book because your experiences are just so many and multifaceted. It will take time, much more time than we have for this segment.
And I thank you because you, Dr. Cannon, you've always been there for me. You have promoted me as well as Mr. Guy and Mr. Michael Lange, and I appreciate you. And yes, I'll have to come back and
Thank
discuss
you
it
so
more.
much for your work, and it speaks volumes.
Oh yes, it's been a wonderful experience.
And we'll come right back. We'll be back very shortly with our follow-up segment.
Thank you. Thank you very kindly.
Lovely. I like the red sound.
Prediction from a fetus to becoming a professional with programming speeches. I want to pepper line. The face of the devil will make you think I'm not a prophet. 85% if you need to reach our levels, the sin of destroying thoughts coming the chosen son from the newest testament. The battle between positive and negative. I'm in your head, visit. You better be ready to catch your blessings. Meditate on my rhyme and you will find divine lessons. 24/7, 365, the sun shines, making confessions. I was created after 7 days. I see heaven in so many ways. The only begotten son, yeah. The only begotten son, yeah. The only begotten son, yeah.
Only begotten word.
The only begotten son, yeah.
Only begotten word.
The only begotten son, yeah.
Only begotten word.
I was in darkness in triple stages, then a full figure, written scriptures in endless pages. I'm the ruler of this holistic killing, we'll reduce after killing. I just that's all it's prayer. My soul is so revealing, I'm the son of God. My mama's and my daddy's only child. Personality adapted from so many lifestyles. The only begotten one, the only begotten son, yeah. It was a gift from God to be the author of this APO crime all the book of the QRAUN win. Get on your knees. I graduated Mecca at the age of building destroy. So I God bless the enemies. The only begotten son, yeah. The only begotten son, yeah. The only begotten one. The only begotten son, yeah.
The only begotten one.
The only begotten son, yeah.
The only begotten one.
I will. Touch your soul and baptize your mind. The Father gave me the power to exalt these holy rhymes. It was like, I was born in the land of because from the beginning my life has been in danger. My people been divided and I'm the remainder one. The son from God, body just the return of Jesus, the only begotten. Along with my disciples, followers, remember my recitals and never to worship idols. Just follow the basic instructions before leaving earth. Feed my sheep and plant my seeds in the dirt. The devil can't believe my power that was given from the Almighty, so he will try to crucify me. The only begotten one, the only begotten son, yeah. The only begotten son, yeah. The only begotten son, yeah. The only begotten son, yeah.
Welcome back to our broadcast for the second half. I'm your co-host, Michael Lange. We just heard a rap artist by the name of QRAUN, who was able to give you some of the latest music and the latest rhymes, and he's our guest here. We want to welcome you to the program.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was lots of energy and lots of conviction in your work.
Yes.
What do you attribute to you choosing this venue, this music? I mean, is there something that someone said to you, you sound pretty good, or?
Yeah, that's close enough. That's about it, yeah.
So where were you when you were making up? I assume that these are your words.
Yes, these words I wrote.
Uh-huh.
I wrote all the words to the song.
What would you consider to be the theme of your work, the body of work that you've done?
Just spiritualism, just how I felt about, you know, Jesus and who he is to me, and how I feel about he is the only Son of God, and how I feel his energy flowing through me, and to respect it and release it out. What would Jesus say if he was a rapper? You know what I mean? That's basically the contents of the song.
Well, now I want to ask you about the song, the music.
The music.
Where does the music come from?
The music came from Mr. Mario Marchetti. It's a very talented, blessed, young Italian friend of mine that I met through music school in San Francisco. And he plays all the music live. He plays live band music, and he actually had other band members come in and put together the music. Now, it brings out the lyrics because the lyrics are I feel when I wrote them, I felt they were epic. So it needed to be an epic sound of compositions to enhance the flow.
So you had the words first, and then the music came after?
Yes, I had the words for about 2 years before.
I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on Tupac and his work, his body of work?
Well, Tupac is a very, very, very good rapper. He has his own way of content in the speaking when he speaks and flows his poetry. He's been through a lot of things, you know what I mean, in his lifetime. When you go through it, it does enhance your poetry because you have these different expressions everyone doesn't is not able to have if they haven't been through a certain
But they can
struggle.
connect to what he's talking about.
Exactly,
Everyone.
and that's because it's not just so much this is our reality, but it is art, it is poetry.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about the art and the poetry and the authenticity of the words. I mean, do you feel that you've captured something that life is imitating art, or that art is imitating life?
Well, you can't have one without the other. Without no art, there's no life. Without no life, there's no art. So, you know, you need both of them. As long as you love life and you love art, or you love what you do, you know, just keep at it. That's all I can say about that.
Tell me a little bit about how you chose the name. It's a very interesting spelling of the word QRAUN.
QRAUN. It actually came through the streets of North Oakland, California. Growing up in a very big house on a corner, they called it the Castle. So they, you know, it was a big house, but you know, it was a lot of suffering in this house, and I just wanted to do something different and be somebody that could arise my family out of that situation. And soon enough, the people start calling me Crown instead of King, and called the house the Castle, because everybody was the king, and I wasn't really out there doing something to be like, oh, I'm the king. You know, it just fell upon it from the streets of North Oakland.
You mentioned that there was a lot of suffering. To you, does rap music come out of suffering?
Not all rap music.
So what are some of the categories? 'Cause like you're talking about Jesus, you're talking about life experiences that you personally know or went through, or both?
Both.
Both. So this suffering, Jesus suffered.
Right.
So there's a connection that's there.
Yes.
Do you think that a lot of rap artists live the lyrics that they speak?
Not anymore. I think that rap artists are using their past history and using it to show the poetry of the song. Once they get money, once they get cars, they're not actually out there standing on the corner, shooting guns, running, throwing bottles on the people's ground, you know what I mean? They're businessmen, you know what I mean? So no, I don't think they're living it like that, you know what I mean? It's just entertainment.
Okay, so as entertainment, when you make it as an entertainer, you have the credentials,
Right.
but you may not have to do what is negative in the community. Because somehow it seems like sometimes there's a lot of negativity in rap music. But what you're talking about is something different?
No, there is a lot of negativity in rap music, you know what I mean? But I don't feel that they're actually at that time enhancing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it over and over. Selling drugs. No, why you want to sell drugs? You're rapping in $1 million studio. You're not selling drugs anymore. You know what I mean?
But you think that rap artists, generally speaking, I mean, and these are the people who've made it as well as the wannabes, that they understand the difference between the reality and then the fact that this is my experience. I got to sell the drugs. I got to be about what I'm talking about.
No, that part of the decade of rap music is long past.
Okay.
It's about making money, coming up with some nice songs, and most of the time, you know, nowadays it's not about hardcore lyrics. It's about strength in your lyrics and nice beats that can keep people occupied, you know.
Well, let me ask you about the money. Who controls the money in this situation?
Well, the producer, you know, the executive producer is the person that controls all the money. He's going to pass out checks to the artists and the co-workers, and you know. Okay,
so now are these record labels and executive producers? You know, there's probably a dozen regions of radio that are connected to the United States. So you got to go through all of that to make it, so to become like a Tupac or somebody like that.
Yeah, you just have to just keep pushing, doing a lot of promotional shows.
But still, you're saying, this is my music, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, this is me.
Producer is saying, well, I want this over here, though. I might want something different as an executive producer. Have you run across that issue?
No, yes, I have. Matter of fact, I did. I have a song about that. It's called Born to Be. I was with some producers, and they wanted something else to happen with the music, and I just left the label and let them go ahead and whatever they was gonna make happen with that, because the contract wasn't fully, obligated to say. But I did give them some music, and in return, they did put me out, and I was blessed for that.
Okay, so you come up with the music, they put it out,
Right.
and then some
They
kind
own
of
it.
yeah, and
They
then a
own it.
record deal comes from that.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So they own the music and the
They own
lyrics.
the whole thing, the whole CD.
And
the
you get a
producers.
percentage out of that.
I get a percentage out of that. Yes.
Well, it's a very complex. I mean, I imagine it's the same with movies and other forms of entertainment.
Yes.
Let me just ask you, number one, is this Born to Be on your latest album?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Oh, good. And how do we reach you?
You can reach me at 415-756-0887.
And your stuff is in the music stores?
Yes, I'm also in the store. You can catch my album at Tower Records, Amoeba Records, Rasputin Records, Music. If you're on the web, you can catch me at www.QRAUN.com. And I'm also on MySpace, so there's a lot of ways you can get in contact.
Okay, I wanted to
with
get
my
the
music.
spelling of your name, Crown.
Yes. The spelling of my name is authentic. After the people named me Crown, I went to the dictionary and looked the word up, and I came up with the Latin spelling comes after the American spelling.
Okay.
And I seen the KRAUN, and over time, as me writing rhymes, the K didn't feel like it needed to be there. It needed another sound. So what we did was we defied the law of the U coming after the Q.
Okay.
And because it has that K sound, we put the Q in front of the RAUN.
Got it. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for coming on the program, particularly with Conscious Rap.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll welcome you back maybe for a half-hour show.
Okay.
And we'll get a chance to really talk about this. This is a phenomenon. It's been with us for 20 years, but it's still a phenomenon. Show, and we'll see you all next week. So long. Great. Thank you.
All right.